Never in the history of mankind has any prophet been so accurate in his prophecies. Sollog is one of the only two living people listed by Yahoo in their prophecies directory. The rest are famous seers who have long passed away, such as Nostradamus and Edgar Cayce. In 1995, Sollog started to publicly release his now infamous prophecies. He is so accurate in his predictions that many of his fans consider him to be a modern-day Nostradamus. Sollog is one of the most discussed topics on the internet. Thousands of pages about him are listed in most search engines, and close to 100,000 posts about Sollog are in the archives of Usenet. Sollog is so accurate in his prophecies that he is one of the most investigated people in the history of the FBI, with over 3,000 pages in his FBI file. When you see how accurate Sollog has been in his writings about recent events such as 9/11, the Madrid massacre, the Great 2004 Tsunami, the Oklahoma City bombing, TWA 800, the deaths of Princess Diana and JFK Jr., as well as many other recent events, and then learn what he says about the near future when nuclear terrorism becomes a reality, the hair on your neck will not only stand up, it may never go back down. Sollog was born, as the great seer Nostradamus described, from the east, from a branch long barren. Sollog's birthplace was Long Branch, New Jersey, on the east coast of the United States. As JFK was being elected in the 1960 Summer Democratic Convention, the mother of Sollog was driven in a near-hurricane-strength storm to Long Branch, New Jersey, to give birth at the break of dawn on July 14, 1960, to Sollog. Sollog was born John Patrick Ennis. Enosiga in Greek means earth-shaker. A few weeks before Sollog was born, one of the largest quakes in history, a 9.5 event, hit Earth near Chile. It created a tsunami that killed many. As a child, Sollog traveled the world due to his father being a pioneer in the computer industry. Sollog lived in many foreign countries as a child. Sollog operated several different businesses early in his life, including software companies and several entertainment businesses, as well as restaurants. On the first day of January 1995, Sollog revealed that he was really Sollog, the word of the one above, God. Since 1995, Sollog has released his prophecies about the future. Sollog has also written dozens of books, mostly about religion, math, and history, as well as books on topics such as UFOs, the Great Pyramid, Bible codes, and Satanism. Sollog's prophecies are world famous and are one of the most written about topics in the world on the internet. Since 1995, many have referred to Sollog as a modern-day Nostradamus. He has been called the Nostradamus of the 90s, as well as the new Nostradamus. Some of Sollog's fans have even put forth the possibility that Sollog is the reincarnation of Nostradamus. Later in this film, Sollog's translations of Nostradamus will be discussed. In February 1996, Sollog sued the U.S. government for false arrest due to his arrest by the Secret Service and his being detained after the Oklahoma City bombing. Sollog warned the court that he was putting exact details of future events into his case to prove he knows the future. The Sollog prophecy about the death of Princess Diana in France on August 31st has been on file in the case since early 1996, over 1.5 years before Diana died. Sollog predicted a rash of plane crashes would occur connected to JFK Airport in 1995. Several major plane crashes then occurred, all connected to JFK Airport. TWA 800 exploded in 1996 after takeoff from JFK. Swiss Air 111 exploded after takeoff from JFK in 1998. The Concorde crashed en route to JFK Airport. Flight 587 crashed after takeoff from JFK. Sollog put the details of Princess Diana's death in Paris on August 31st into a U.S. federal court case over 1 year before it occurred. The Washington Post has even mentioned this Sollog prophecy. In the 902 prophecy of Solog that was released on September 2nd, 1997, Solog warned tragedy would hit Bill Clinton on the 15th of November. Less than 5 months later, news of the Clinton sex scandal with Monica Lewinsky broke. Clinton was impeached by Congress due to lies he told about the affair. The Clinton-Lewinsky affair started on November 15th, the exact date Solog warned that would be tragic for Clinton. On the 7-year anniversary of the 902 prophecy, Clinton suffered a heart attack on September 2nd. In the Xmas 1997 prophecies, Solog wrote about JFK. The next verse was about a plane that falls from the sky. Within 2 years, JFK Jr. was dead as his plane fell from the sky. In 1996, Sollog's prophecies started to appear on the internet. In 1998, Sollog.com debuted. It is one of the busiest paranormal sites in the world. Sollog.com features the prophecies of Solog, as well as art and music by Solog. Sollog's new Millennium Prophecies warned that a major plane crash would once again occur connected to JFK Airport. The Concorde then crashed en route to JFK Airport. Solog is known to put dates and flight numbers of future plane tragedies in his prophecies. Swiss Air 111 crashed on the 1-year anniversary of the famous Sollog 902 prophecy. The number 111 was in the 902 prophecy. The rash of plane crashes connected to JFK Airport occurred after Solog wrote about such plane crashes being connected to his writings. In the new Millennium Prophecies, Solog warned that a major crash of the stock market would occur at the end of 1999. The end of 1999 was the exact top of the bull tech market of the 1990s. The tech bubble burst and a historic crash of the stock market then occurred, exactly when Solog warned it would in his new Millennium Prophecies. In 1995, Solog started writing about the line of Solog that runs from south of Seattle through Oklahoma City and just south of Miami. Solog pointed out that where Hurricane Andrew struck just south of Miami was a key anchor point on the line that extends into the Caribbean and also into Alaska. Hurricane Andrew was the worst natural disaster in the history of the USA at the time this was made. Solog warned that the slaughter of the innocent would strike this line of tragedy over and over. Since 1995, these tragic events have occurred directly on or very close to the line of Solog. April 19, 1995, the Oklahoma City bombing occurred on the line of Solog in the heart of America. Solog was detained by the U.S. government after this tragedy due to his warnings by fax to the editors of the top newspapers in the USA. Until 9/11 occurred, the Oklahoma City bombing was the worst act of terrorism to have occurred on U.S. soil in U.S. history. The Columbine School massacre struck the line of Solog in Littleton, Colorado. Other major school shootings struck the line in Springfield, Oregon, and Jackson, Mississippi. In 1995, Hurricane Opal struck the line of Solog. It was at that time the third largest financial damage to the USA caused by a hurricane. ValueJet 592 crashed near Miami on the line of Solog. Johnny Versace was killed near Miami on the line of Solog. The largest manhunt in recent U.S. history was in the Miami area for the killer of Versace, Andrew Cunanan. Joan Benet Ramsey was killed on the line of Solog in Boulder, Colorado. Michael Kennedy died on the line of Solog while skiing New Year's Eve in Aspen, Colorado. Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped on the line of Solog in Salt Lake City, Utah. Lori Hacken was murdered by her husband in the same city on the line of Solog. In 2004, Hurricane Charlie struck the line of Solog just south of Tampa. Hurricane Ivan then struck the line of Solog near Mobile Bay. Hurricane Jean killed over 1,000 in northern Haiti on the line of Solog. The line of Solog is dead straight. Why did the worst hurricane in U.S. history, the worst school shooting in U.S. history, and the worst act of terrorism in U.S. history all strike on a dead straight line? On the very line guaranteed by Solog in 1995 to be where the slaughter of the innocent would occur. On 9/11, or September 11th, 2001, the world changed forever. The only modern seer or mystic to warn of 9/11 publicly with exact information before this tragic event occurred was Solog. On 9/11, 1998, Solog issued the following warning about 9/11 publicly via Usenet. It was 3 years to the exact date of 9/11. It stated, "On 9/11 there will be a major emergency in D.C." This warning was archived by a major search engine with a timestamp. The FBI investigated Solog over this warning. There are now over 3,000 pages in the Solog FBI file, due to the fact he was investigated by the FBI over the Oklahoma City bombing as well as 9/11. Solog sued the U.S. government in early 1996 for detaining him after the Oklahoma City bombing occurred. The case number of the file is 96 CV 1499. In 1997, Solog released the 902 Prophecy via Usenet, where it was archived with a timestamp by a major search engine. The 902 Prophecy stated, "Major terrorism would occur in September in New York City." Solog called it the Big Bang at the Big Building. 4 years later, 9/11 struck in New York City at the biggest buildings in the city, at the World Trade Center. The Philadelphia City paper mocked Solog's 902 Prophecy about major terrorism in New York City in September. The article appeared in that paper on September 11th, 1997, 4 years to the exact date of 9/11. After 9/11 occurred, Der Spiegel, the largest paper in Germany, did several articles about the Solog 9/11 warning. They mentioned the City paper article as well. Days before 9/11 occurred, Leo Phoenix, a Solog fan, warned of 9/11 in Usenet. Why haven't the U.S. media mentioned the Solog and Leo Phoenix 9/11 warnings? The 902 Prophecy of Solog also warned that the New York City media would be struck in early October after the September terrorism occurred. The New York City media was struck after 9/11 occurred with an anthrax attack in early October. Both events were clearly foretold by Solog in his 902 Prophecy. The Nostradamus translations about 9/11 by Solog are world famous. This is what Solog says Nostradamus wrote about this historic event. Century 6, Quatrain 97. 40.5 degrees, a mid-air explosion. Fire near the tall new city in the clouds. In an instant, a great flame-up connected to a boat and a plane explosion. When one is dedicated to understanding this prophecy. The Roman numerals make the proof. How did Solog know 9/11 would connect to DC in tragedy? How did Solog know September would connect to terrorism in New York City? How did Solog know the New York City media would be struck in early October after September terrorism? The 113 prophecy of Solog was released in March 2002. It warned how the number 113 would be connected to future tragedies and acts of terrorism. On February 1st, 2003, the 113th shuttle mission had a tragic ending. It took off on its mission on January 16th, which is 9/11 upside down. The tragedy happened a few hours from the 31st day of January, a date with 113 in it. On March 11th, a date with 113 in it, the Madrid train massacre occurred. Over 200 people were massacred. It is considered Europe's 9/11. The 113 prophecy of Solog mentioned March 11th multiple times. Solog put train tragedy over the word terrorism in the 113 prophecy. In early December 2003, Solog released his Xmas 2003 prophecies. They warned of killer quakes that take many lives. At 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on Christmas Day 2003, the Great Bam Quake hit in Iran and killed over 50,000 people. It was the biggest killer quake in 13 years. 1 year later, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on Christmas Day 2004, the Super Sumatra 9.0 plus quake hit. It was the largest quake in over 40 years. The quake created a biblical killer tsunami that killed over 150,000 people. On November 23, 2004, Solog released his Great Quake prophecy for the 2004 holiday season. Great quakes are rare seismic events that occur less than once a year. A quake greater than 8.0 plus is considered by scientists to be a great quake. Solog's Great Quake warning stated thousands would die during the 2004 holiday season from a historic Great Quake. The exact date Solog gave was a few days off from the biblical Great Quake that killed over 150,000 people. In 1995, Solog started writing publicly about the line of Solog, a line that runs on a map from south of Seattle to the Miami area. Solog noted that Hurricane Andrew had struck the area just south of Miami a few years earlier. In 2002, Solog issued publicly his 31 disasters prophecy about future hurricanes and earthquakes in the USA. Solog explained in this prophecy that 4 hurricane lines would control where future hurricanes would strike the United States. The first hurricane line mentioned by Solog is also known as the Line of Solog. It runs from south of Seattle through south of Miami. The second line runs from the Boston area through the Miami area in Florida. The third line runs from Corpus Christi, Texas through the Savannah, Georgia area. The fourth line runs from Corpus Christi to the Boston area. Only a small percentage of coastal areas in the United States is actually touched by these lines. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew, the worst natural disaster so far in U.S. history, struck the Line of Solog just south of Miami. In 1995, Hurricane Opal struck the Line of Solog a day after Solog made a public statement to a U.S. magistrate about how Opal would cause major damage. Opal caused, at the time it struck, the third largest financial loss due to a hurricane in U.S. history. Hurricane Charlie, a killer hurricane, struck the United States just south of Tampa on the Line of Solog in 2004, less than 2 years after Solog released his 31 disasters prophecy. Hurricane Ivan, another killer hurricane, struck the United States in the Mobile Bay Area on the line of Solog also in 2004. Both Ivan and Charlie caused billions of dollars in damages to the state of Florida. Hurricane Jean also struck the line of Solog in northern Haiti in 2004. Thousands of Haitians died from Hurricane Jean on the line of Solog. The Oklahoma City bombing also occurred on the line of Solog. When it happened, it was the worst act of terrorism on U.S. soil until 9/11 occurred. The Columbine High massacre struck on the line of Solog. It is to date the worst school shooting in U.S. history. After Solog released his 31 disasters prophecy, the first 5 major hurricanes to hit the United States struck exactly where the Solog hurricane lines are. The hurricanes were Isabel, the first Category 5 hurricane in the Atlantic in over 5 years, Charlie, Francis, Ivan, and Jean. Why did the worst rash of hurricanes in U.S. history occur shortly after Solog released his prophecy? Why have so many of the top hurricanes in U.S. history struck on a straight line? The same line where the Oklahoma City bombing and Columbine High massacre occurred. Before 9/11 occurred, Solog released 10 earthquake warnings from 2000 to 2001. All 10 warnings were publicly released and archived with timestamps in Usenet. The 10 warnings gave an exact time for the quakes and a location. The warnings were for rare seismic events in the 7.0 plus range. These quakes occur about 13 times a year on average. For anyone to hit even the date for a rare 7.0 plus quake is about 30 to 1 probable. The first 5 quake warnings from Solog gave an exact date when a rare 7.0 plus range quake then struck. 2 had the exact time to within a few minutes. The odds of anyone hitting 5 exact dates for rare 7.0 plus quakes is around 1 million to 1. The second group of 5 quake warnings gave an exact location where a rare 7.0 plus range quake then struck within 31 days when Solog released his quake warning for that quake. On 9/11, or September 11, 2001, the world changed forever. The only modern seer or mystic to warn of 9/11 publicly with exact information before this tragic event occurred was Solog. On 9/11/1998, Solog issued the following warning about 9/11 publicly via Usenet. It was 3 years to the exact date of 9/11. It stated, "On 9/11 there will be a major emergency in D.C." This warning was archived by a major search engine with a timestamp. The FBI investigated Solog over this warning. There are now over 3,000 pages in the Solog FBI file due to the fact he was investigated by the FBI over the Oklahoma City bombing as well as 9/11. Solog sued the U.S. government in early 1996 for detaining him after the Oklahoma City bombing occurred. The case number of the file is 96 CV 1499. In 1997, Solog released the 902 Prophecy via Usenet, where it was archived with a timestamp by a major search engine. The 902 Prophecy stated, major terrorism would occur in September in New York City. Solog called it the Big Bang at the Big Building. 4 years later, 9/11 struck in New York City at the biggest buildings in the city, at the World Trade Center. The Philadelphia City paper mocked Solog's 902 Prophecy about major terrorism in New York City in September. The article appeared in that paper on September 11th, 1997, 4 years to the exact date of 9/11. After 9/11 occurred, Der Spiegel, the largest paper in Germany, did several articles about the Solog 9/11 warning. They mentioned the City paper article as well. Days before 9/11 occurred, Leo Phoenix, a Solog fan, warned of 9/11 in Usenet. Why haven't the U.S. media mentioned the Solog and Leo Phoenix 9/11 warnings? The 902 Prophecy of Solog also warned that the New York City media would be struck in early October after the September terrorism occurred. The New York City media was struck after 9/11 occurred with an anthrax attack in early October. Both events were clearly foretold by Solog in his 902 Prophecy. The Nostradamus translations about 9/11 by Solog are world famous. This is what Solog says Nostradamus wrote about this historic event. Century 6, Quatrain 97. 40.5 degrees, a mid-air explosion. Fire near the tall new city in the clouds. In an instant, a great flame-up connected to a boat in a plane explosion. When one is dedicated to understanding this prophecy, the Roman numerals make the proof. How did Solog know 9/11 would connect to D.C. in tragedy? How did Solog know September would connect to terrorism in New York City? How did Solog know the New York City media would be struck in early October after September terrorism? The 113 Prophecy of Solog was released in March 2002. It warned how the number 113 would be connected to future tragedies and acts of terrorism. On February 1st, 2003, the 113th shuttle mission had a tragic ending. It took off on its mission on January 16th, which is 9/11, upside down. The tragedy happened a few hours from the 31st day of January, a date with 113 in it. On March 11th, a date with 113 in it, the Madrid train massacre occurred. Over 200 people were massacred. It is considered Europe's 9/11. The 113 Prophecy of Solog mentioned March 11th multiple times. Sollog put train tragedy over the word terrorism in the 113 prophecy. A Sollog prophecy predicted the DC sniper shootings well before they occurred. Sollog also predicted locations where the DC sniper would strike during the shooting spree. Sollog revealed how the locations chosen by the DC sniper formed a pentagram on a map. On Christmas Day in 2004, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, one of the largest quakes recorded in the past 100 years struck near the island of Sumatra in Indonesia. It was a rare 9.0 quake. A tsunami or a tidal wave developed as a result of the large quake. It killed over 200,000 people in over 10 countries. It was the worst tsunami in recorded history. It was a disaster of biblical proportions. Some are starting to refer to this historic event as God's tsunami. The reason is, on November 23, 2004, a warning appeared in Usenet about a great quake that would occur during the 2004 holiday season. The warning stated thousands of humans would be sacrificed as a result of a historic great quake. The quake was supposed to occur according to the warning on January 1, 2005. It struck a few days early on December 26th, local time. The warning was issued in the name of Lord God Almighty. The person that issued the killer quake warning for the 2004 holiday season is known as Solog. He has predicted several major earthquakes in the past. He is one of the most investigated people in the history of the FBI due to his public warnings about events such as 9/11 and the Madrid massacre. The reason the God quake warning was given according to Solog, aka Lord God Almighty, is that Solog has given an edict to mankind. You will destroy all nuclear technology, or mankind will be destroyed. God has spoken. At 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Christmas Day in 2004, the island of Sumatra became linked to the greatest tsunami in recorded history. On December 16, 2003, Sollog issued his famous 2003 Xmas Prophecies. The prophecy warned of killer quakes that take many lives around the world. The largest quake in 13 years struck at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Christmas Day in 2003 in Bam, Iran. The prophecy also called for a major airline crash. On Christmas Day 2003, a plane crash of a commercial jet crashed in Benin's capital. Over 100 were killed. Benin's is an anagram of Enis, the birth name of Solog. Over 50,000 people are believed to have died in the Great Bam, Iran Christmas Day quake of 2003. On January 1st, 1995, Solog discovered what he calls the point of creation formula. His killer great quake prophecy for the 2004 holiday season was, according to Solog, in order to celebrate the great truth within his discovery. In 1995, Solog started writing publicly about the line of Solog, a line that runs on a map from south of Seattle to the Miami area. Solog noted that Hurricane Andrew had struck the area just south of Miami a few years earlier. In 2002, Solog issued publicly his 31 disasters prophecy about future hurricanes and earthquakes in the USA. Solog explained in this prophecy that 4 hurricane lines would control where future hurricanes would strike the United States. The first hurricane line mentioned by Solog is also known as the Line of Solog. It runs from south of Seattle through south of Miami. The second line runs from the Boston area through the Miami area in Florida. The third line runs from Corpus Christi, Texas through the Savannah, Georgia area. The fourth line runs from Corpus Christi to the Boston area. Only a small percentage of coastal areas in the United States is actually touched by these lines. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew, the worst natural disaster so far in U.S. history, struck the line of Solog just south of Miami. In 1995, Hurricane Opal struck the line of Solog a day after Solog made a public statement to a U.S. magistrate about how Opal would cause major damage. Opal caused, at the time it struck, the third largest financial loss due to a hurricane in U.S. history. Hurricane Charlie, a killer hurricane, struck the United States just south of Tampa on the line of Solog in 2004, less than 2 years after Solog released his 31 Disasters prophecy. Hurricane Ivan, another killer hurricane, struck the United States in the Mobile Bay Area on the line of Solog also in 2004. Both Ivan and Charlie caused billions of dollars in damages to the state of Florida. Hurricane Jean also struck the line of Solog in northern Haiti in 2004. Thousands of Haitians died from Hurricane Jean on the line of Solog. The Oklahoma City bombing also occurred on the line of Solog. When it happened, it was the worst act of terrorism on U.S. soil until 9/11 occurred. The Columbine High massacre struck on the line of Solog. It is to date the worst school shooting in U.S. history. After Solog released his 31 Disasters prophecy, the first 5 major hurricanes to hit the United States struck exactly where the Solog hurricane lines are. The hurricanes were Isabel, the first Category 5 hurricane in the Atlantic in over 5 years, Charlie, Francis, Ivan, and Jean. Why did the worst rash of hurricanes in U.S. history occur shortly after Solog released his prophecy? Why have so many of the top hurricanes in U.S. history struck on a straight line? The same line where the Oklahoma City bombing and Columbine High massacre occurred. In early December 2003, Solog released his Xmas 2003 prophecies. They warned of killer quakes that take many lives. At 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on Christmas Day 2003, the Great Bam Quake hit in Iran and killed over 50,000 people. It was the biggest killer quake in 13 years. 1 year later, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, on Christmas Day 2004, the Super Sumatra 9.0 plus quake hit. It was the largest quake in over 40 years. The quake created a biblical killer tsunami that killed over 150,000 people. On November 23, 2004, Solog released his Great Quake prophecy for the 2004 holiday season. Great quakes are rare seismic events that occur less than once a year. A quake greater than 8.0 plus is considered by scientists to be a great quake. Solog's Great Quake warning stated thousands would die during the 2004 holiday season from a historic Great Quake. The exact date Solog gave was a few days off from the biblical Great Quake that killed over 150,000 people. Solog is the founder of the Temple of Haya, also known as TOH, T-O-H. TOH is the fastest growing religious movement in the world. There are now thousands of members of TOH around the world in almost every country. TOH's belief is very simple. TOH members believe in the 10 Commandments and one God. The 5 books of Moses, or the Torah, is considered the holy books of TOH, as well as the writings of Solog. Solog has released several mathematical formulas and theories since 1995. One of Solog's discoveries involves a number sequence hidden within primes. It proves primes are not random. The search for a proof to prove that primes are not random has been one of the great challenges for mathematicians to find for thousands of years. The sequence is a 24 number pattern that repeats every 90 digits. The same number sequence of 24 numbers appears hidden within the Fibonacci sequence as well. Sollog has also released hidden sequences in exponent tables that prove the infinite universe of exponents repeat every sixth exponent. The first math discovery Sollog released is the point of creation formula. Sollog discovered it on January 1st, 1995. The point of creation formula assigns a value to a point, something modern mathematicians say cannot exist. Sollog credits the discovery of this formula as the catalyst for awakening him to the true nature of his being, that being Sollog. The theory of chaos states the formation of our solar system just happened. Proof of intelligent design to our solar system would destroy the theory of chaos. In 1995, Sollog released the Creator Formula. Fans of Sollog say the Creator Formula and Sollog's Planetary Distance Formula are the mathematical proof that the solar system was intelligently designed. Can it be Sollog has given mankind the proof of God? In the Creator Formula, Sollog shows how two symbols in the creation myths of several major religions are a simple formula to create the perfect circumference of the earth. The two main symbols of the Creator Formula are the cube and the period of 100 years. The cube appears in ancient Egyptian symbolism as a symbol for creation. The cube was considered the earth by the Pythagoreans of ancient Greece. The cube is represented as the Holy of Holies in the Old Testament. Brahma, the creator god of Hinduism, sits on a cube throne that is said to represent Earth. A symbol of creation in Buddhism is the cube. To this day, Muslims dance around a black cube in Mecca. The number 100 is also featured prominently in the creation myths of ancient religions. Abraham was 100 when Isaac, the father of Israel, was born. Brahma lived to be 100 years old, and Hindu myth says the earth was designed using the age of Brahma, that being 100 years. In ancient Greece, the god Hermes was said to measure the earth using his books of wisdom. The number of Hermes' books was 36,525. That number is the amount of days in 100 years. NASA has spent millions of dollars to measure the Earth exactly. NASA says the equatorial circumference of the Earth is 24,902 miles. The polar circumference of the Earth is 24,860 miles. The average of these two numbers is 24,881 miles. 24,881 is the average circumference of the Earth. The cube is described mathematically as having 6 sides, 8 corners, and 12 lines of dimension. That is expressed mathematically as 6, 8, 12. The Creator Formula uses two numbers. The first is the days in 100 years of Earth orbits around the Sun. That number is 36,525. The second number is based on the dimensions of the cube, 6 sides, 8 corners, and 12 lines of dimensions. 36,525 times 0.6812 equals 24,881, the perfect circumference of the Earth. Why do the days in 100 years of Earth orbits multiplied by the dimensions of a cube equal the perfect circumference of the Earth? Why do these symbols appear in the ancient creation myths of Egypt, Greece, Judaism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Islam? The reason Solog called this formula the creator formula is due to it being an acronym for circumference ratio Earth aligned to orbital rotations creator. In 2002, Solog released a proof for his creator formula. That proof is known as PDF, or the Planetary Distance Formula. The first part of PDF explains how all the eye visible planets in our solar system are ratio aligned to Earth. The only exception is Venus. The odds of Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn all being ratio aligned to Earth is astronomical. The fact that these planets are indeed ratio aligned to Earth is proof the theory of chaos is false. The fact that 4 out of 5 eye visible planets in our solar system are ratio aligned to Earth is proof that our solar system was intelligently designed. The way to see the ratio alignment is by comparing the circumferences of these ratio aligned planets to Earth and then analyzing the circumference ratios to the orbital ratios. For instance, the circumference of Mercury is 9,525 miles. The circumference of Earth is 24,881 miles. The ratio between 9,525 and 24,881 is 0.38. That is the circumference ratio. This number matches the orbital ratio. The distance of Mercury to the Sun is 36 billion miles. The distance of Earth to the Sun is 93 billion miles. The ratio of 36 to 93 is 0.38. That is the same ratio as the circumference ratio between Mercury and Earth. These two numbers should not be aligned to each other perfectly in a solar system created by chaos. The next planet in our solar system that is aligned to Earth in this exact manner is Saturn. The circumference of Saturn is 235,296 miles. The circumference of Earth is 24,881 miles. The ratio between 24,881 and 235,296 is 0.10. The distance of Saturn to the Sun is 890.8 billion miles. The distance of the Earth to the Sun is 93 billion miles. The ratio between the distance of Saturn to the Sun and the Earth to the Sun is 0.10. Once again, the circumference ratio of Earth and a planet matches the ratio of the distances of these two planets to the Sun. Both planets, Mercury and Saturn, are perfectly aligned to their circumference ratios to Earth and their orbital distances to the Sun. Proof of design. The next two planets that align to the circumference of Earth to their own circumferences are Mars and Jupiter. Both planets have circumference ratios perfectly aligned to Earth, since the period of their orbits around the Sun are ratio aligned to Earth's orbit around the Sun and circumference. For instance, the circumference of Mars is 13,264 miles. The circumference of Earth is 24,881 miles. The ratio between Mars and Earth is 13,264 to 24,881, or 0.53. The orbital ratio between Mars and Earth is the same number, 0.53. Mars orbits the Sun in 687 days. Earth orbits the Sun in 365.25 days. The ratio between these two orbital numbers is 0.53, the same exact ratio as the circumference ratio between these two planets. The next planet in our solar system to be perfectly aligned to Earth is Jupiter. The circumference of Jupiter is 279,118 miles. The circumference of Earth is 24,881 miles. The ratio between 279,118 and 24,881 is 0.08. Jupiter's orbit around the Sun is 4,331 days. Earth's orbit around the Sun is 365.25 days. The ratio between 365.25 and 4,331 is 0.08, the exact same ratio as the circumference ratio between Earth and Jupiter. As you can see, both Mars and Jupiter are ratio aligned to Earth's circumference, as is Mercury and Saturn. Why are 80% of the eye-visible planets ratio aligned perfectly to Earth's circumference and orbital measurements? In a solar system created by chaos, these planets would not be ratio aligned to Earth. Chaos did not create the solar system. It was intelligently designed, as the planetary distance formula clearly shows. Isn't it amazing that most religious paths have the key symbols of the creator formula in their creation myths? The time has come for world religions to unite to one truth. That truth is, we live within a created solar system. Sollog's book, UFOs, The Proof, was the basis for the film, Real UFOs. In UFOs, The Proof, Sollog revealed the first photos of UFO pilots. He also revealed that major UFO sightings often occur before major tragedies happen. The following footage is from real UFOs. What you are about to witness are photographs and videos of real UFOs. In 1981, Carlos Diaz photographed a UFO in Tepoztlan, Mexico. This was before personal computers could digitally manipulate photographs. Note the reflection of the UFO on the hood of Carlos Diaz's car. Carlos Diaz would be given a video camera 10 years later to film some of the most amazing video ever recorded of a UFO. Carlos Diaz claims to have boarded this UFO, and he described the pilots as being human-looking. The only Mayan temple built in the mountains of Mexico is in Tepoztlan, where Diaz photographed this UFO. Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Nation of Islam, has claimed that he too boarded a UFO craft in Tepoztlan with human-looking pilots. He says it occurred in 1985. In 2003, hidden images of bearded humanoids were found by Sollog in the 1981 photographs taken by Carlos Diaz, validating the claims of both Carlos Diaz and Louis Farrakhan. These are the first photographs of UFO pilots ever seen. 10 bearded faces can be seen in this photograph taken by Carlos Diaz. The center of the image contains 4 bearded faces. This is a close-up of the Diaz photograph that shows ghostly images with beards. This image has the bearded faces outlined. This is an enhanced rendering of the Diaz photograph. This image is a further enhancement. The bearded faces are very clear. The video of this UFO in Tepoztlan, filmed by Carlos Diaz, is perhaps now the most important video of any UFO ever recorded, since we now know that both Carlos Diaz and Louis Farrakhan did see humanoid UFO pilots in this UFO craft in Tepoztlan. The following video was filmed before 9/11 occurred. One of the patterns found by analyzing major UFO sightings is that they often occur where major tragedies will soon happen. This UFO was filmed hovering at the exact location where a plane crashed into the Twin Towers on 9/11. Coincidence or a warning?
You getting all this? The World Trade Center?
That's the same thing.
What is that? It's over there.
In 2003, Barbara Sikoranza came forward and identified herself as the woman in this World Trade Center UFO video. She is the wife of Chris Stein, who is one of the founders of the rock band Blondie. He is a known UFO buff. Barbara says this amazing UFO footage was shot using CGI, computer-generated imaging for Sci-Fi. Sci-Fi, which was owned by Universal Studios when the footage was released, refuses to comment on if the video is real or a hoax. Is it real or is it fake? This video of a UFO at the World Trade Center has the same pulsating orange illumination of the Carlos Diaz UFO video. Did this UFO also warn us of 9/11? Were the terrible events of 9/11 so important in the history of mankind that UFOs tried to alert us to this event to give us a warning?
Second plane crashed into the tower number 2. That's the one to the left where the darker smoke is billowing out right now. We have reports, CNN has been told that one of the planes was an American Airlines 760. Now, no words, no reason.
I think we all have struggled today with a way to define just the impact of what was witnessed here in New York. As you know, Aaron, this is 30 blocks away. As you know, the city is in a
These are some of the famous Sollog translations of Nostradamus' quatrains. Many consider Sollog to be a modern-day Nostradamus. Some even consider him to be Nostradamus reincarnated. This is the quatrain that Sollog says Nostradamus predicted the 9/11 event in. Century 6, quatrain 97. 40.5 degrees. A mid-air explosion. Fire near the tall new city in the clouds. In an instant, a great flame-up connected to a boat and a plane explosion. When one is dedicated, the Roman numerals make the proof. One of the words Nostradamus used in this quatrain happens to translate as a word that can be used for both a plane and boat. The World Trade Center was struck by a plane and was owned by the Port Authority of New York City. A direct connection to the word that Sollog warned in 1996 was connected to this quatrain. Sollog has connected another Nostradamus quatrain to the World Trade Center attack. Century 1, quatrain 87. Ennis, the earth shaker, fire to center of ground, iron to shake around new city. 2 tall, long rocks, tons of fuel, the ferocious war, then a fountain of a red new river. The key to this quatrain being connected to the World Trade Center tragedy, besides the phrase 2 tall, long rocks, was the word TEPS. Sollog says TEPS is a famous French acronym for Tons d'Equivalent Pétrole, which means literally tons of fuel. It is also an abbreviation of the French word Tefhermanti, which means ashes to be blown up into the air, which is exactly what happened when the towers collapsed. Ennis is the birth name of Sollog. In 1996, Sollog connected the 9/11 New York City quatrain to the TW-800 disaster and the World Trade Center bombing. The quatrain states clearly that 40 and 5 is the location of the new city. 40.5 is the exact location of New York City. Nostradamus gave a clear vision how many would be mesmerized by a sudden tragic explosion over the sky of this great new city. Solog says the key to this quatrain was how the Roman numerals gave the exact date of the TWA 800 explosion. Quatrain 697 is 796 in reverse. TWA 800 exploded in 796, July 1996. Solog warned in 1996 that other future tragedies involving planes in New York would still happen. This is the translation of Century 6, verse 97, given by Solog in 1996. 40.5 degrees. A mid-air explosion. Fire near the tall new city in the clouds. In an instant, a great flame-up connected to a boat and a plane explosion. When one is dedicated, the Roman numerals make the proof. According to Solog, Nostradamus also gave a clear description of a major explosion at a future Olympic game. Century 10, verse 74. Just past the great number 7. He appears near the time of the 100th Games of Slaughter, not far from the age of the great year. The entranceway out is their tomb. Solog says the death of Diana in France was also clearly described by Nostradamus in the quatrains. This is how Solog says Nostradamus saw the death of Diana. Century 2, verse 28. God, the last but first, the nickname of the seer, takes the goddess of the moon for his day and movement, a frantic wanderer and witness of God's law, in awakening the world's great religions to God's will. The only survivor of the Diana crash was a bodyguard named Reese, which is seer backwards. The goddess of the moon in ancient times was Diana. Solog says Nostradamus wrote about the death of Mother Teresa. Century 9, verse 24. Near the death of the pillar of a palace, an Indian people, take away the two, a petite royale. Way of a saint, a deliverer of the mud, a French saint's order, a dwarf nun, deformed, a traveler, worm of the fruit. Most skeptics of Nostradamus falsely point out that nothing major occurred in July 1999. Yet Solog, who scored his own hit in predicting that JFK Jr. would die in a plane crash, points out that the July 1999 prophecy of Nostradamus was indeed about the death of JFK Jr. as well as the World Trade Center attack in New York City. Century 10, verse 72. The year 1999, the 7th month. From the sky will come one born a grand royal, trembling in fear. At the wheel and the cause is the grand royal, an American prince. In the days before and after, prophecy shall reign with good fortune. Solog pointed out in his own translations how many understood Anglemois to be an anagram about a king of the Mongols, causing great fear. Kabul was the capital of the great king of the Mongols. It is the present capital of Afghanistan. So Nostradamus was very close to the exact date when the USA would be struck from a modern ruler connected to the capital of Genghis Khan, the great Mongol king. Many other Nostradamus translators have considered this verse to be about a comet or asteroid hitting the earth. Solog was the first to reveal that this quatrain, besides predicting the death of JFK Jr. in the 7th month in 1999, was also connected to a major discovery found in space on the 7th day of November in 1999. That discovery was the largest asteroid ever tracked by the JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory of NASA. On the 7th day of a month in 1999, the JPL discovered an asteroid that could have destroyed the Earth. NASA has estimated that the 1966 orbit of this killer asteroid, known as 1999 VP11, came within only 25,000 miles of Earth. This is the closest that an extinction-level NEO, near-Earth orbit, has ever come to hitting the Earth in perhaps many thousands, if not millions, of years. Was the 7th of 1999 about asteroid 1999 VP11 and the near destruction of Earth? It was indeed the king of asteroids, and it has caused great fear of such heavenly objects to many. In God's Bible Code, Sollog reveals amazing Bible codes about past historical events as well as codes about future events. Sollog claims to use Bible codes in some of his famous prophecies. Sollog reveals a Bible code in this book that warns of an impending asteroid strike off the coast of China in August. This book now has its own website, godsbiblecode.com. The Prophecies of Sollog contain the famous prophecies of Sollog. This book produces court documents from the mid-1990s that prove the U.S. government detained Sollog after the Oklahoma City bombing due to his warnings about that event. Sollog reveals his simple codes for his prophecies in this book. The Prophecies of Sollog now has its own website, prophesiesofsollog.com. In the Creator Formula, Sollog reveals how the ancient religious works of man contain two symbols that create the perfect circumference of the Earth. Sollog also reveals how the inner planets are ratio-aligned to Earth. Many consider this work to be the proof that our solar system was intelligently designed. NASA discovered the two largest bodies in our solar system since Pluto was discovered after Sollog released his PDF, or Planetary Distance Formula. The new bodies were found exactly where Sollog's formula predicted they would be found. This book now has its own website, thecreatorformula.com. In Jesus is Not God, Sollog takes on the subject of Christianity. Sollog reveals how Jesus' last words, claiming to be the morning star, proves that Christianity is a hidden form of Lucifer worship, since Lucifer claims to be the morning star in the Old Testament. This work has started to be quoted by Muslim scholars as to why the divinity of Jesus cannot be true according to Old Testament law. This book now has a website, JesusIsNotGod.com. In UFOs, the Proof, Sollog presents the first photos of UFO pilots. He also presents FBI photos of the Roswell UFO. Sollog explains how UFOs often make major sightings in areas that will soon have a great tragedy. Many UFO sightings were reported before the historic quake struck Mexico City. A rash of UFO sightings were also reported before the great Sumatra quake struck in 2004. This book was the basis for the film, Real UFOs. It has its own website, ufostheproof.com. In 1566 edition Princeps, the authorized prophecies of Nostradamus, Sollog reveals how the most famous edition of Nostradamus is an early forgery. Sollog also reveals that the only known complete first edition of the famous prophecies of Nostradamus is the 1566 edition Princeps of Nostradamus. Sollog just happens to own this historical book in his rare book collection. Sollog's Nostradamus translations are featured at Nostradamus.org. Since 1995, Sollog has claimed the reason that he came to Earth was to give mankind a warning about the future, a future when nuclear terrorism becomes a reality. This event, according to Sollog, crashes the modern way of life. It will crash real estate, banks, and governments around the world. Sollog operates nuketerror.com and stopnukes.com to give the world his nuke warning. Sollog says the first areas struck by nuke terrorism are Israel, Rome, and Washington, D.C. Sollog also operates dirtynuke.com, where he warns that New York City will be the target of a dirty bomb, also known as a dirty nuke. November 11th in the year 2011 has been given as a likely key date in world history for an act of nuclear terrorism. It is the 7-year anniversary of when Mahmoud Abbas ascended to his current leadership position of the PLO. Solog points out M. Abbas is the phonetic spelling of Mavis, the Antichrist in the writings of Nostradamus. Solog says after 2020 an asteroid will hit the Earth. Solog also says that the size has not yet been determined, since mankind still has a short time to change his destiny by eliminating nuclear devices and controlling world pollution as well as population.
This is Sollog. This is not a hoax. There are many thousands of web pages about me. Check Google for Sollog, S-O-L-L-O-G. The reason? I am known to predict earthquakes and hurricanes and historic acts of evil. Since 1995, I've been writing about the line of Solog. This Haiti quake struck the line of Solog, as did the Oklahoma City bombing and many other events like Columbine massacre. Since 2007 or so, I've been writing about the Pentagram of blood. 13 days before the Haiti quake struck, a trailer for a new Adoni Film movie was released to YouTube. Look at Adoni Film's user account. You will see this map in it. It features the point of the pentagram of blood in the area where the Great Haiti Quake hit. Some say it was UFOs or the US government. Some say it was an act of God. Some say I predicted it. The quake did strike one day from a group of dates I usually use in my esoteric writings, dates with 113 in them. In many parts of the world, it was 113 or January 13th when the Great Haiti Quake struck, although local time it was late in the day on 112 or January 12th. Look at all the events in the video tied to the pentagram of blood before hundreds of thousands were killed in the Great Haiti Quake. Soon millions, and possibly billions of you will be dead. Welcome to the apocalypse.
This is the USGS website run by the US government, and you can look up earthquake data here. Now what I've done is I've put in a date range from 73 to 2000 and a minimum quake of 2, which is not even going to really feel that. And I'm going to create a circle around Oklahoma City. So we put in 35.3 as the latitude, negative 95.3. It's right around where Oklahoma City is. And we're going to make the inside radius 2 and the outside radius 3. Now, this is an earthquake zone, and you can see here on the map that there are quakes, and it looks like a substantial amount, 94. And over here it shows you all the various quakes. Very big, and the main thing here is it says there's 1,744 earthquakes in that region. So we went from under 100 to almost 2,000. Most of them are after 2000, and if you look down here on the list, you're going to see that most of them are after 2015, when fracking really took off. So up until 2005, we don't really have a lot of earthquakes in this area. So most of those quakes are in the last 10 years. This is de facto proof that horizontal fracking has created almost 2,000 earthquakes in the past 10 years in the Oklahoma City region. Now you're not going to hear that in the media, but that's the raw facts from the USGS that anyone can look up. And I'm not sure the USGS is going to keep this information where the public can get at it that easy. So this video shows how significant earthquakes around Oklahoma City are. Now if we go back to this map, we can zero in here. We'll just center. Come on, 2,000 earthquakes. Granted, a lot of them aren't that significant. You're not going to feel them. But enough of them are in the 4.0 and even 5.0 range where when they occur, they're significant in that level. But you can see here, absolute proof what people. This is the USGS.gov site. It's the United States government's geological survey. And this is where you can search their database for earthquakes. Now, what I've done here is I've put in a date range from right around when the database began to be significant, 1973, and all we're going to do is search up to about 2000. Okay? We're going to search for tiny quakes starting at 2.0, which you wouldn't even really feel a 2.0 earthquake. And we're centering 30.3 as the latitude in a circle. That's Austin, Texas, with a latitude of negative 97.7. So if you put in 30.3 and negative 97.7, you're drawing a circle right around Austin. Now we're going to go the inside radius 2 to an outside radius 3. In other words, we're going to draw a 300-mile, or actually it's a kilometer, circle around Austin. Now we'll search. You're going to see there's only 12 earthquakes from 73 to 2000 around Texas. So that's the number right there in the top left. It says there's 12 earthquakes in this region. Now, if we go back to the USGS and all we do is we extend the year search to go from 73 to 2014, current time, we're going to be adding 14 years of earthquakes to the search. So it's over 40 years. The first search was 26 years. Now we're adding another 14. Everything else is the same. Latitude, longitude, radius, it's all identical. So all we're doing is increasing the time search to add what's happened recently. Now when we search, it goes from almost none to 120. So 12 to 120. That's the real damage that horizontal fracking has done. And if you look here on the left side, you'll see that almost all these earthquakes So there's the state of Texas. You can see the Eagle Ford Formation has the recent activity. And up here near Dallas, northwest of Dallas, where all the homes are shaking, that's where all these new earthquakes have happened. And this is the zone where horizontal fracking is being done. So you had a seismically stable area. After 2007, when they start doing horizontal fracking, you go from almost no earthquakes to over 100 earthquakes. And it's only going to get worse. This is the impact of horizontal fracking. You cannot deny this information. This is real data right from the USGS, a government site, and no one in the media is really talking about how you find this information. And I don't know how long the USGS is going to keep this public information up where you can actually go in there and see the environmental impact of horizontal fracking. So an area had almost no quakes in over 25 years, and now it has over 100. That is what horizontal fracking does. This is Dr. Sollog, and this video is about the prime algorithm. It's a 30-mod prime algorithm that I theorized in the 1990s and released originally through what I call the ANISA prime formula. The 8 prime channels that create the infinite universe of primes is easily viewed using a 30-mod chart. On the left side of this chart here, we begin with the number 0. So 30 mod 0 is 0. And then the 8 prime channels are the top row. These are the primes that are greater than 5. The first 3 primes are 2, 3, and 5, which 2 times 3 times 5 equals 30, which is the mod. or the field of play, or the field of action, or the infinite universe of prime numbers will exist. So what this chart shows is the potential prime candidate field. It is 32 rows of numbers by 8 columns, 256 potential prime numbers. Every prime above 5 is going to exist somewhere in this field of 256 numbers for the first 0 through 31 rows. So we'll see here 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31. Those are the base prime seeds. These 8 numbers, which are all primes above 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31, with a simple math equation using 30 mod times any integer, will create a potential prime number. So we have 256 potential prime numbers in 30 mod field if we go 0 through 31. Now, this is all the numbers, 256 potential prime candidates. This is the actual primes that exist. So all the gaps now are the numbers that are excluded because they're divisible by other numbers. We go from 256 to 160 numbers now that are absolutely prime. So the 30 mod formula correctly showed where every prime from 7 to 953 in this particular example exists. Not one prime above 5 is outside of these 8 channels. So you can see how we went from 256 numbers, the total potential prime field, into the reality of 160 numbers, or 62.5% of these potential primes were actually primes. That is very simply the 30 mod algorithm. Now, about 10 years after I released this algorithm, and I did discuss 60 mod, 90 mod algorithm in the 1990s, a couple math people by the name of Atkins and Daniel Bernstein came up with 60 mod, which I had already discussed in my initial work in the 1990s. Bernstein and Atkin came up in 2004 with 60 mod, which is just doubling this simple 30 mod channel. So it's just laying out the graph a little bit different, or rather the spreadsheet. Again, these numbers can be manipulated into any mod of 30. So 60 is 2 times 30. 90 mod would be 3 times 30. 210 mod would be 7 times 30. So again, you can manipulate these numbers left to right in this example showing a chart, as long as they are a multiple of 30. You're going to come out with basically the same structure, but you're going to view it differently. Again, I explained all this in the 1990s, 30 mod, 60 mod, 90 mod, because I was more interested in the compression integers that come about once you get up into a 90 mod chart. It shows a definite pattern that's very interesting, to me at least, to some other mathematicians as well. But again, you can see here, once you get above 5, every prime number is in this field of action that the 8 prime seeds create. So this spreadsheet here is just a simple 30 mod chart. The first row is the 8' channels, or the 8' seeds, and these are also known as the spiral channels, or the 8' spirals. Basically, it's a 30 mod formula which is created by the first 3 primes, being 2, 3, and 5. 2 times 3 times 5 is equal to 30. That sets up the field of play, or the field of action for where all the primes in the infinite universe above 5 will exist. The prime seeds are the first 8 primes above the number 5. So 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31 are the prime seeds. 30 is the mod. These rows on the left are just integers from 0 out to 31. So this creates 8 times 32 potential mods. 0 to 31 are all the mods that we're going to analyze. 32 times 8 is 256 potential prime numbers. So before I theorized this in the 1990s, conventional wisdom on primes was that primes were random, there was no pattern. Well, the 8' spirals, or the 8' channels, or the Udoni primes, the Udoni prime spirals here proves that primes are not random. There's a clear distribution pattern. So the theory is that every prime number, in this case out to 961, since we're going 30 mod 0 all the way out to 31 mod, is going to be a potential prime number. That gives us a field of 256 potential primes. Now, if we found a prime outside of these 8 channels, then the theory would be wrong. Okay, well, the theory is correct. There's not a prime above 5 that exists outside of these 8 channels. So you take 30 numbers, and you only have to look now at 8 of the 30 numbers, which are all based on 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, and 31. Now, the next chart here shows the actual primes in this field. And what these gaps are these are numbers that are in the prime field, potential field, that are not prime. So what's remaining now are the actual primes. So we went from 256 numbers, and we end up with a large amount of primes. Now, this next chart here is a whole different theory, which I call the super primes. Again, it's 30 mod. We got our 8 seeds, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29, 31. So we have our 8 channels of distribution, but instead of having every integer here, we're only going to focus on the integers that are prime. So now this is a 30 mod where the mod is prime instead of any integer. And what this does, this sets up a clear distribution panel for primes that are special primes, meaning that they're created with a 30 mod algorithm using as the integer another prime. So instead of 30n where n can be any integer, it's 30n where the n is a prime number. Now when we do this, we set a dividing line here. You can see this little diagonal that almost equally distributes these numbers. Okay? So these clear diagonals are the basis of what are seen in the Ulam spiral, which isn't new. That's been around since 1963. But basically, these real strong diagonal lines are what people are visualizing when they actually create a picture for the Ulam spiral. Okay, and again, it's more easily visualized how clear this pattern of distribution is with these diagonal lines if we only take prime integers in the 30 mod formula. So I call these super primes, and if we're going to go out here and analyze a whole bunch of primes that are based on primes, we're going to put every prime number on this integer column from 7 to 97. So these are all prime numbers here on the left side. And again, it creates a potential field of 8 columns times 22 primes, which is 176 potential prime numbers. But you can see that some of the numbers are missing these gaps. And what the gaps end up leaving us is 96 actual primes out of 176. So we have 54.54 repeating decimal are primes in this example, where we go out to number 97 as a prime. So we're analyzing 22 prime numbers in the 30 mod formula. And if we go back to the first 8 primes, that's when the real clear pattern of distribution of these super primes is seen. So again, 30 mod is just real simple. There's 8 potential prime channels or 8 prime spirals, and this creates a very narrow field of potential primes. It was recently tested in pi primes, which is a primality program written in Python, and that's why there's a lot more interest now in these math theories. Since in 2012, when pi primes came out, it tested all the conventional prime algorithms, and up until this actual 30 mod equation was tested in pi primes, the fastest prime generator for basic prime generation was always the sieve of Eratosthenes, which is over 2,000 years old. So when you look at the work in pi primes, you'll see that all the newer prime generators like wheel fractionization, various other prime algorithms, they didn't do that well in pi primes. The big prime generator, Eratosthenes, created a lot of primes very quickly, and the only algorithm that beat it was the 8 prime spirals. Now when you look at the work of pi primes done in 2012, he called it the Croft spirals because Steve Croft, a former Microsoft employee, had created in 2010 a website about what he thought he had found, but it was already 15 years old by the time Steve Croft came up with his website. So now I'm explaining the theory. Since in the 1990s, I discussed this, in my mathematic paper known as the NISA prime formula, and a few other prime papers after that. Because I also found various sequences that are related to these sequences in the twin primes, Mersenne primes, Fibonacci primes. There's a lot of patterns that I discussed way back in the 1990s that some mathematicians now are starting to realize. But the main thing here is, if we just analyze primes that come off of prime integers in the 30 mod algorithm, the distribution pattern is beautiful. You can see this strong diagonal here, this strong diagonal here, this group of numbers here, here, here. So when you see numbers like this here, and they're charted out in the picture like the Ulam spiral, which I'll put up in this video, this is why these patterns emerge. Now the other issue about these patterns is ECC, which is a form of crypto developed by Lenstra and further expanded by Koblitz, has been most likely infected with seed keys, where special relationships between the seed keys are known by the groups that are distributing it. and primarily this ECC crypto is coming out of NIST, which is a funded project by the NSA. Now the Snowden documents are saying basically ECC crypto is cooked. That means is they're creating seed keys with these special relationships that you can see in the 30 mod algorithm, and that is how they're understanding the numbers that they're issuing as seed keys have special relationships. So now the issue is, what's the hidden formula that the NSA used to create these special relationships, and a consensus is emerging that it's a prime algorithm in an integer algorithm that the general public is not aware of. Now, some people question, well, why didn't I release this information in 1995 when I did my original paper through academia? Well, in that era, the NSA basically had a stranglehold on academia, where if you were theorizing work involving crypto or even prime numbers, because at that time RSA used basically big prime numbers in their cryptography, that it had to go through the NSA. So something that could potentially damage cryptography would never have been published in any academic paper. So it was distributed via the internet, via my websites. It was put in newspaper ads. It was put in federal court records, where I was being harassed at the time by the federal government for my work. And there's no real issue on to who first theorized 30 mod, 60 mod, and 90 mod prime algorithms. It was me in the 1990s. Now the issue is, since Pi Primes has created a mathematical test showing how powerful this new formula is to create primes, well, the importance of 30 mod prime is now understood. Also, the issue of if primes are random has been settled. Primes are not random. They all exist above the fifth number 5 in one of 8 distribution channels. So the 8 prime spirals control the infinite universe of primes, and from this moment on, a lot of people will be looking at primes much differently than they have in the past, when this information wasn't general knowledge. Exactly how the NSA cooked their seed keys for ECC, well, it involved knowledge of special relationships between numbers,